Everyone at Hawthorne Tower used to call him invisible. Some didn't even bother learning his name. But on the day everything collapsed, the systems, the company, the CEO, only one person knew what to do. Not the board, not the managers, not the experts they paid millions. It was the janitor they mocked, the man they never took seriously. And when he stepped forward, the entire building went silent. Leon worked the night shift at the massive glass headquarters of Argon Dynamics, a tech company worth billions. Every evening at exactly 7, he pushed his cleaning cart through the revolving doors, nodded politely at the receptionist who never remembered his name, and disappeared into the shadowy hallways no one ever paid attention to. He was quiet, gentle, slow-moving in a way that made people assume life had beaten him down long ago. Some workers greeted him with a quick smile. Others acted like he wasn't even there. And a few, especially the younger executives, mocked him in subtle ways. Every night, one of them would call out things like, "Make sure you don't scratch the marble, old man," or "Don't touch my desk, you might break something." They chuckled at their own jokes, then went back to pretending he didn't exist. Leon never responded, not because he couldn't, but because he had learned, long ago, that silence was sometimes the best teacher. He swept, wiped, mopped, and emptied bins with a quiet dignity that made him seem older than his 50 years. His dark hands moved with care. His breathing was slow and steady. But underneath that calm exterior was a man carrying stories no one bothered to ask about. Tonight, though, something felt different. When Leon entered the top-floor executive hallway, he heard voices, panicked, anxious voices. The kind of voices that didn't belong in a skyscraper full of confident, wealthy people. He set his cleaning cart aside and listened. Something was wrong upstairs. He continued down the hall, pretending to mop, ears sharp even if no one believed he had sharpness in him. That was the thing about being invisible. You learned everything. He saw workers rushing into a conference room. He saw the COO clutching her tablet with shaking hands. He saw the board members whispering harshly, looking pale. And he saw paramedics being called. On the floor, through the glass panel, he saw the COO lying unconscious. And suddenly, he knew. The company he had quietly cleaned for 12 years was about to fall apart. And no one, not the board, not the investors, not the employees, had any idea that the only person who could save them was the man holding a mop. The chaos inside the conference room was unlike anything Leon had ever witnessed. People were shouting into phones. Someone cried. Someone else tried to keep the CEO awake by calling his name loudly. But the man wasn't responding. The CEO, Richard Hale, was known as a cold, calculating business mastermind. At company parties, he shook hands but never hugged. At meetings, he commanded the room with his razor-sharp tone. But now he looked small, fragile, human. Leon watched the paramedics work in silence. A board member began pacing. Another stared at a laptop with trembling fingers. "What are the markets doing?" One of them whispered. "Bleeding. Another hour of this, and we're done." Done. That was the word. Leon looked around. It wasn't just the CEO who was collapsing. The entire company was unraveling. And behind the scenes, there was something even more dangerous. Because Leon recognized the symptoms the CEO showed on the floor. And he recognized the panic in their eyes. He had seen it before. Back when he wasn't just a janitor. The paramedics lifted the CEO onto a stretcher. The board hurried after them. Phones rang nonstop. The CFO barked orders. Someone cursed loudly. Someone else muttered that the press would eat them alive. Leon quietly continued mopping. A young executive named Kyle walked by and snorted. "Don't worry, janitor. This mess is a bit too big for you to clean." His friends laughed. Leon didn't look up. But inside him, a door he had locked years earlier creaked open. A door filled with memories of a past life. A life where he once led crisis teams, managed systems, solved problems these executives couldn't begin to understand. A life he left behind. A life no one knew about. Because people saw his uniform, and they assumed that was all he was. Later that night, when the building emptied and silence returned, Leon walked into the CEO's abandoned office. Papers were scattered. A laptop still showed a chart plunging downward. A confidential memo was left open. And there, in bold red text, he saw the problem. A financial breach. Not hacked. Internal. Someone inside Argon Dynamics had been manipulating numbers. Someone had set up a collapse. Someone the CEO had tried to expose, Too late. Leon's hands tightened. He had seen schemes like this before, and he knew exactly how they worked. He closed the laptop gently, turned off the lights, and walked out. Tomorrow, they would panic even more. Tomorrow, they would search for answers. Tomorrow, they would realize they were drowning. And tomorrow, the quiet janitor no one respected would become the only person who could keep them alive. The next morning, the board gathered again, this time without the CEO. The air was heavier. Fear hung like smoke. Investors were demanding answers. The media caught wind of the collapse. Employees whispered in the hallways. Leon arrived early. He cleaned the lobby as usual, but his eyes were on the patterns. He noticed who arrived early, who avoided eye contact, who clutched their briefcase too tightly. He had seen these patterns back in his old career, when he used to investigate internal economic corruption. A long time ago, before life took everything from him. People thought they were good at hiding guilt. They weren't. At 9, the CFO rushed past him, stopping for a moment. "You there, janitor. Bring coffee to the boardroom. We have an emergency." Leon nodded politely. He carried in a tray of cups while board members barely acknowledged him. Inside, panic ruled. "We can't access the backup servers. The financial reports from last quarter are missing. The auditors want answers in 2 hours. We could lose the company." Voices overlapped. Angry. Afraid. Leon placed the tray down quietly. Then he saw something on the whiteboard. Names. Numbers. A timeline. Sloppy. Wrong. They were guessing randomly. Chasing shadows. If they continued this way, they would destroy themselves. He looked at the numbers again. Patterns jumped out immediately. The breach wasn't random. It was targeted. He knew who did it. He had the missing piece they couldn't find. But he walked out silently, because no one had asked him anything. No one had ever asked him anything. Later that afternoon, chaos reached a breaking point. The COO was shouting into a phone. The CFO was sweating through his shirt. Half the employees were in tears. People were packing up personal items, convinced it was over. Then the board made a decision. They would hold a final emergency meeting at 5 p.m. If they couldn't find a solution, Argon Dynamics would declare bankruptcy. At 4:58, someone cried in the hallway. "Everything we worked for is gone." Leon stopped sweeping. He looked toward the executive floor. He had stayed silent long enough. He put his mop aside, straightened his uniform, and walked toward the boardroom. When he entered, the room fell silent. "Why is the janitor in here?" Kyle muttered. The COO frowned. "Sir, we are in a confidential meeting." Leon stepped forward. "I know who breached the system." Every head snapped toward him. "And I know how to stop the collapse." For a moment, the room remained wordless. Then laughter broke out. "You?" Kyle scoffed. "You're a janitor." Several others nodded. The COO tried to keep the meeting on track. "Sir, please step outside. We appreciate your work, but—" Leon interrupted, voice steady and clear. The breach wasn't external. It wasn't random. It was engineered through internal asset misallocation across 3 departments. Silence. That sentence alone was something only a forensic financial specialist would know. Leon continued. "The numbers you're chasing don't add up, because you're following the wrong pattern. The breach uses a circular rollback system that hides transactions inside automated backups. Whoever did it knew your system better than you do." The CFO stood up. "How do you know that?" "Because I designed systems like this for 20 years. Gasps filled the room. Leon took a slow breath. "Before I was a janitor here, I was lead investigator in the National Financial Crimes Task Unit. I retired after my son died and my family fell apart. I needed quiet work. So I chose this job. Not because I'm incapable, but because I needed peace." Some board members lowered their eyes. Others stared in disbelief. The CFO swallowed. "If what you're saying is true, can you prove it?" "I already have." Leon stepped to the screen, tapped a sequence on the projector controls, and pulled up the internal file tree, the one no one else had managed to access. The board members leaned forward. Leon clicked again, revealing hidden folders stacked beneath dozens of false directories. "This," he said, "is where the breaches are buried. They're disguised under automated payroll archives. Whoever hid them created a loop that would collapse the company once it reached the end of the cycle." The COO whispered, "My God." Leon pointed to a name in the log. "The breach came from someone inside this room." Eyes darted around. Leon continued calmly. "And I know exactly who it is." He paused. and I can stop the collapse before the stock market opens tomorrow. Dead silence. No one mocked him now. No one laughed. They were waiting on his next words, breathless, afraid, hopeful. The janitor was no longer invisible. Leon tapped a few keys. A hidden file opened, showing a secret account where millions had been diverted. Dozens of transactions, all funneled quietly, slowly, over the past year. Gasps filled the room. Whose account is that? Someone whispered. Leon waited for the name to reveal itself. When it did, the COO staggered backward. No, it can't be. The room turned toward the CFO. He was sweating, shaking, eyes darting toward the door. Leon didn't raise his voice. You were the only one with access to these files and the authority to override the security locks. You set the company up to collapse the moment the audit hit. You planned to blame the CEO, but he caught you. The CFO slammed a fist onto the table. That's a lie. Leon clicked again. Emails appeared. Transfer orders. Encrypted messages the CFO had tried to delete. Security footage showed him entering the restricted server room at midnight. It was undeniable. The CFO lunged for the door, but Kyle blocked him. Security arrived. The man was handcuffed and dragged out, screaming. When the door closed, the board turned to Leon with a mixture of guilt and awe. The COO spoke first. Can you fix this? Yes. How long will it take? Until morning. What do you need? Leon looked around the room, at all the people who had mocked him, ignored him, underestimated him. Access to everything. In one quiet room. The COO nodded. Whatever you need, you'll have it. Leon spent the next 12 hours working through the night. He restored files, rebuilt backup servers, traced transactions, reversed logs, patched vulnerabilities, and rewrote corrupted scripts. His fingers moved with old confidence. His mind sharpened into the man he once had been. And as the sun rose, he completed the final repair. Argon Dynamics was saved. At 8 in the morning, the board entered the server room. Leon clipped the last cable and stood up slowly. It's done, he said. The COO checked the systems. Her voice trembled. Everything's back. Everything is normal. He saved us. Leon gave a tired smile. Now you know what a janitor can do. News spread across the company fast. The janitor saved the headquarters. The janitor caught the criminal CFO. The janitor restored the entire financial system. Employees who once ignored him now stared in amazement as he walked through the halls. Some whispered thank you. Some apologized for the way they had treated him. Kyle, the young executive who mocked him the most, approached with shame in his eyes. Sir, I'm sorry. I didn't know who you were. Leon answered gently. You don't have to know someone's past to treat them with respect. Later that afternoon, the board called an emergency meeting. This time, they invited Leon. He walked in quietly. Every seat was filled. The COO stood. You saved this company when everyone else froze. We owe you everything. Another board member added, you have skills we desperately need. If you're willing, we want to offer you a new position. Leon raised an eyebrow. What position? Head of Corporate Security and Internal Affairs. A high-ranking job. A powerful position. Triple the salary of most executives. Everyone waited for his response. Leon folded his hands. I appreciate it. Truly. But I didn't help you for a job. They blinked. Then what do you want? The COO asked. Leon looked around the room, at the expensive suits, the nervous faces, the guilt now replacing arrogance. I want one thing. Respect. For every worker in this building. Whether they clean the floors or run the servers. Whether they sit in this room or sweep the halls. People deserve dignity. The room fell silent. Finally, the COO nodded slowly. You have it. From now on, every person in this company, every department, every level, will be treated as valuable. That is my promise. Kyle wiped his eyes. And yours? Leon smiled. I'll stay as janitor. Not because I have to. Because I choose to. But I will help when needed. Quietly. Silently. You know where to find me. The company changed after that. Policies were rewritten. Staff were treated with new warmth. The barrier between executives and workers softened. People said hello to one another. Smile more. Help more. Because they remembered what the quiet janitor had done. Leon kept cleaning the hallways. Pushing his cart. Wiping the windows. Emptying the bins. But now, people greeted him by name. They thanked him. Not with forced politeness, but with genuine gratitude. One evening, the COO approached him. We're having a ceremony tomorrow, she said softly. To honor you. The workers want it. Leon shook his head. Let the company celebrate the lesson, not the man. She smiled. Then at least let us frame your mop in the lobby. He laughed. I still need that mop. Life returned to normal, but something inside Leon healed. For years, he had carried guilt, grief, and silence after losing his son. He had believed he had nothing left to give. But this crisis reminded him of something he had forgotten. He still had purpose. He still had value. He still mattered. One night, as he pushed his cart toward the exit, Kyle caught up with him. Sir, can I ask you something? Leon paused. Why didn't you tell anyone who you were? Leon looked at him gently. Because people show their true character when they think no one is watching. Kyle lowered his head. Thank you for everything. Leon patted his shoulder and walked out into the warm night air. He wasn't a hero to the world. He didn't need to be. He was the janitor who saved a corporation. The man who reminded a company of humanity. The quiet figure who proved that respect should never depend on status, wealth, or titles. And as he walked down the street, the moon shining above him, he whispered a small promise to himself. To keep living with dignity. To keep helping when no one expects it. To keep being Leon. The janitor who changed everything.